to order. Secretary, please report the members present or members absent. I think I'd better turn this on. That's better? Take the roll, please. We have the minutes of September 10th, means that we didn't have an official meeting on October 8th, as some of us were absent. Are there any corrections or additions to the September 10th meeting minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve these minutes as we see them.
Motion by Pat, is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, second.
Second by Trevor. Any further discussion? Hearing nothing, none, all in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried without dissent, thank you. Notes from the October 8th meeting. We haven't got anything to report, but is there some discussion on the notes to bring us up to date?
Last meeting, we did not have a quorum, so we did, Mr. Jessup, who was in for the, to ask for a reduction in the front yard setback, was here to speak on behalf of what he was requesting. I believe the board members that were here agreed to listen to him and actually go over what he was presenting, and that given the option whether he came to this meeting or not. I would ask Pat if he would agree with that. Or
Yes, we had a chance to listen to his concern here about the variance he was asking for, and of course we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't approve it, but I would make a motion that we go ahead and approve this variance that he's asking for based on the information that we received last month.
Okay, a motion by Pat to approve the variance asked for, and what that variance is our regular agenda this morning, right?
yes,
So that is to consider a setback from 25 feet to less than 25 feet, and do we know what that is?
I believe the setback is at 21 feet based on one of the site plans that he submitted.
Okay. Okay, motion by Pat to approve, and that variance would be section 39, 12011, C1, have been met. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trevor. Is there any further discussion?
I would
Yes.
just like to add in the discussion that he did have a porch that was there that was taken off, so it was it's just a rebuild of that porch.
Trevor, actually, he's going a little bit bigger.
Oh,
I believe
okay.
it's 2 feet bigger, so that, I believe it was a 6-foot porch, and now I think he's going to 8 foot. That's why we had him come in front of the board.
Okay.
Okay, it just appeared to me that the house across the street to the north was out quite a bit further and kind of lined up with the commercial or the apartment building that the college had down in the corner. They just were kind of in line.
That's correct. If you look at an aerial view in the neighborhood, there's a lot of homes with the front porches that go out to this distance or even further.
Okay. Any other comments?
With the, if they were gonna put a deck on, is that still 25 feet, or is there an exception for something like that? Is this just because it's covered?
Yes, it is because it's covered. You can have an open deck that can extend out further into your front yard. It is because it's covered.
Okay. But he's not enclosing whatever, it's still gonna be a deck just to cover it?
No, this is actually a porch. It's covered. So
Right, but it's still gonna be open and air.
Yes. Yes.
So there's no blockage of views either direction?
He doesn't fall in the 30-foot triangle. No, he
Okay.
does not.
Other questions, comments? If not, Pat,
Aye.
Trevor,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
and I'll vote aye. So we'll give him permission to do that, and I think it looks good. It kind of matches the backside. Okay, other business discussion.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
go ahead.
Just a little ahead of ourselves. As you all well know, Corey Schweitzer has resigned his position on the Board of Adjustment and Board of Appeals. And Mr. Soren, Sean Soren, with Boundary Engineering, has put in his request to be on these boards, and he was approved by the City Commission. So I'd like to thank Sean for being part of this, these boards, and Mr. Sean Soren.
Thank you.
Hey, we get a round of applause. And welcome, Sean. Sorry we didn't do this to
That's all right.
begin the meeting here.
It's been a while since I've sat at the table, but I guess it's familiar.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else, sir?
And we also talked about an alternate. We do have some interest. We haven't received any forms yet. If anyone who actually watches this, or any of you gentlemen know of someone, put it out there. Citizen interest form is online that they can fill out if they want to take part in a city board.
Very good. Now, I think it's important that we do have an alternate or two. How many can we have? Can we
I
have-
believe there isn't a set number. We haven't had one in some time, so I know there is an interest.
At least one we
Yep.
should have,
Yep.
okay. I know we used to, in the past, we used to have an alternate all the time at the meeting.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Discussion on, I noticed that there was discussion on if we can't make it, make sure we call by Thursday. Was that what was the discussion? To make sure that we know who is going to be there. Okay? Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I apologize. There is I think part of the discussion too is if when an applicant isn't present to be, if somebody doesn't show up and their application is on the agenda, how would you like to proceed?
Okay. We probably should talk a little bit about that. That's good.
I guess the city's stance on it, if an applicant doesn't show up, I would ask that their request be denied.
That's the thought of
City of
the
Dickinson,
city engineer and the city, your department?
the City of Dickinson Building Fund, yes.
I would agree with that, because I think if it's not important to the applicant to be here, I think it's just, should be put aside then, either not accepted, or if the circumstance is such that they weren't able to make the meeting, I guess I can understand that, but if they just don't show up, don't let anybody know, I feel that that's a lack of interest on their part, so.
And I would agree with that, and it takes time out of your day. You show up, and then if we have an applicant who just doesn't notify us and doesn't show up, you're here, so.
Trevor, your thoughts?
I'm fine either way. I know we've kind of just taken them as they come in the past, but if we want to do it where if they don't show, we just deny them, I'm fine with that also. I agree with what was stated.
If the board agrees with that, that would be a statement that we'd put on the application. Failure to appear would result in the request being denied.
Sean, you have some thoughts on it?
Just a question, I guess, if we formally deny it and they want to come back because they were sick or whatever they missed, do they have to just start over, pay the application fee over, or would it be,
I would believe if they were sick or for unforeseen circumstances, I think we see them again, that they wouldn't be required to pay another fee. But if they just didn't show up, I would say that they would go through that process again, that they would be able to, but their first request would be denied.
What's the advantage of denying it versus just not listening to it?
It's a matter, I think, of you being here, the time that the city spends putting it together, and if somebody doesn't show up, that there's costs associated with it.
Are you saying as far as just tabling it?
Yeah. I mean, is the goal to deny it so then they'd have to pay the fee again and come back? I mean, obviously, that's part of the reason they pay the fee is because of the expenses that are
Yeah.
incurred, right?
Another option, maybe instead of having them go through the process to pay the fee and do it again, is that they would actually appeal the denial for their non-appearance to the Board of Appeals, and then the Board of Appeals could decide, did they have a good reason or not? And if they didn't have a good reason, it comes back down. That's another way to handle it.
I mean, ultimately, I guess I'm fine with either way. It's
I guess
you know,
that-
you do like to have them here before you make a decision on it. And if they can't come and present their hardship, so to speak, then
I guess
We have their written and all the aerial photos and all that kind of stuff. We already have them, but it would be nice, I think, to have them here. Here to make a decision.
I guess the one I'm a little hesitant of is if it's just kind of like a replacing something, you know, like if they have a sign, it got knocked down or something, they're replacing a sign, they have all the stuff correct there, to come and like explain that they're just replacing a sign when they had it all in the packet or something. You know, I can see a little bit of that in some of those instances, but other than that, I mean, I guess I'm fine with either one, like I said.
I can see what your thought is to say, well, why would we have a meeting at all if they're not interested in coming to
ultimately, people who come in front of you are going beyond what the code mandates. I mean, if they don't show up, if I argue a good case, essentially could be denied. I mean, it is based on a hardship on the Board of Adjustment, and it's kind of hard, I guess, reading it on paper compared to somebody saying and explaining. You can get two different versions by somebody vocally just telling the story instead of putting it on paper. So I guess it's up to the board here, but there is risk if they don't show up that it's more than likely going to be denied, I guess. So it is up to the board. We just thought we'd try to, I don't know if the word clean it up, make things more efficient is appropriate or not.
It's nice to be able to tell the applicants that their presence is required and to have you have that complete record. And then if something should occur, an accident, an illness, something like that, and have that be the exception as opposed to the rule.
Your presence is required or you will be denied.
I agree with that, but let's go to today. Under this scenario, would we have just denied?
We didn't have a quorum last meeting. He did show up, and I believe he was given the option by the board members that were here because he did speak to those board members. So he was actually given the option not to come. So I believe that's, I mean, if that is different because he was actually told that he didn't have to come today.
Different scenario there, okay. Any other comments, questions?
I guess we could put it may be denied. I mean, we could put that on the form. We ask that you be present, or the
Your
request may be
your
denied.
presence is required or you may be denied.
That's fair. Gives you a lot of discretion.
Yes.
Well, there is a lot of them, I do have questions for them, you know,
Yeah.
but there's some that, you know, seem fairly straightforward, but I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, you ready to motion for that? Do we have a motion?
I think actually board consensus is sufficient for this, and we'll just add it to the
Okay,
language that goes out.
very good.
Before we adjourn, I'll just comment that I know that the next agenda said that it will start after this meeting or 8 o'clock. So,
Yeah, okay. We wait till 8 o'clock.
well,
Is
if you
there
have anything else you want to
is there
talk about.
Further discussion. Leonard, yeah.
Nope. In order to make the process easier, if there's anything that the board thinks that we can assist in, I know some of the drawings, renditions that we get from customers,
A little bit sketchy.
and I do appreciate the board members. I know you go out and look at the properties, and you're on the board for a reason, because you understand what people are wanting to do. We do our best to try to get them to project what they want. We work with people, but sometimes we can't expect them to go out and spend thousands of dollars to have a architectural rendition. If based on your experience, I know you guys know what these people are wanting to do. Is there something that you would like to see further, either by the customer or by staff?
I think that just the fact of what you just said, the drawings that sometimes we get are a matter of interpretation, and that's why it's nice to have that person standing there and maybe explaining that to us, or sometimes they'll bring an additional drawing along. So I think that's about all that can be done. I mean, you can ask for a drawing, and I understand not having to spend $1,000 to get a architectural rendering of what you're trying to do. That really isn't necessary, but it's nice to have them standing on the other side of the podium to explain to us if we have questions. So for that reason, I guess that's why I like to see the applicant here.
I guess the other thing too is like even in this Jessup packet today, like when you look through it, I mean the new porch is 8, but then on the drawing, it shows 8, but 23 feet away, but then according to the city, it's 21 feet away. And then on their other picture, they show the old front porch at 7, even though it was supposedly 6. So, I mean, I know they're only talking a foot here, but I mean, there's like a lot of...
And working with this applicant, it was tough to narrow it down, thus the request of less than 25 feet.
Okay, makes sense.
So when we actually go to do our actually setback from the property pins is when we'll get that accurate dimension.
Okay.
We're not physically on the site actually doing it, or we're not asking for a surveyor or to actually take that accurate dimension. This is a homeowner.
Sure, yeah.
Other comments? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Trevor. Is there a second?
I'll send it.
Second by Sean. We are adjourned. Okay, the next